Hi everyone, I'm back. I have another story. This is a story about one of the first times I met up with a deceased loved one in the astral realm. It was a partly lucid, partly not lucid astral projection, and it was not intentional. So it started out kind of like in a dream, and as I progressed in the dream, I became more lucid. You'll see when I tell the story, you'll understand what I mean. And so this was an astral projection where I met with my deceased grandfather. He had died about 18 months prior. I missed him a lot. And when I started astral projecting about a year after he died, one of the first things I thought about is, oh my God, I'm gonna use this to go try and find my grandfather in the afterlife. So this was not the first time I did that intentionally, but it was the first time we met up. And so in this dream / astral projection, how it started was we were in my hometown and we were celebrating because my grandfather had come back from the dead, and we were all happy to see him, and we were having a big party. But this was a party over several days. And the day prior had been my sister that had been responsible for the party, and that day I was responsible for the party, for my grandfather's coming back to be with us. And in the dream, everyone was arriving early, nothing was ready, everything was going wrong. And so I was upset because I was responsible for the organization, and it was very stressful. And so I decided to leave my home and go out into town. I had things to go get last minute, and I needed some breathing space. So I left my own party. People were arriving. I'm like, I need to get out of here. This is too much for me. I love the party. And so I went into town and do some shopping and stuff. And then I stopped by, in our hometown, there's like this big tower on a hill. And I stopped there just for a moment to be with myself. And I was sitting in the stairs of this tower, maybe halfway up the tower, when in comes my grandfather, and he is looking. So my grandfather died, he was 94 years old. Yeah, that's old. He died at 94, but then when he arrived in my dream / astral projection, at that moment, I became very lucid. He was about 40 or 50 years old, so he looked young and healthy and all that. And when he arrived and I noticed he was there, I got so excited, I jumped up, I hugged him, and he hugged me, and I was so happy I started to cry. I'm like, oh my God, you're here. And he started to cry, and so we were hugging and crying together, so happy to see each other. I'm happy just thinking about that moment. It was the first time after he died that I got to hug him, and I was lucid, and he was happy and I was happy. It was just a magical moment, and this was in the astral. All those of you out there who think, oh, that can't be possible, or I wish that could be possible for me, it's possible. And I that's why I think astral projection is like the best tool we have spiritually, is because it really helps us on our spiritual path. Like for me, the grief was hard, so reuniting with my grandfather was the thing that could finally put all of those emotions to rest, because it was confirmed to me in my mind and my heart that he's doing fine, everything's fine, and that we're going to be together again, because we can even be together now in the astral dimension. So yeah, I was super happy. We hugged, and then when the hug ended, we started to talk. We had a pretty long conversation. I'm going to say maybe feels like 10 minutes here. Started talking about stuff, and then we were moving back to going back to my party together. So we walked down the stairs, and at that time he got into a truck. It was his truck, a pickup truck, and it was a gold pickup truck. My grandfather has never had a pickup truck. That's not the kind of man he was. And so it was pretty weird for me to see him hop in that truck, but he loved his truck. And I was outside the truck, not sure if I was getting on or not. And so he starts to tell me that he has made a decision and that he's coming back. And I wasn't sure what to make of that because, you know, before in the beginning of the dream, I knew I was having a party because he's back. And then when I became lucid, I wasn't focusing on the party and my grandfather's back. I was just focusing on the present moment. I'm with him. I'm happy to be with him. I want to talk with him. So that's what I was doing. But then he starts to explain that he is coming back. And I didn't want to question what that meant in front of him. I just assumed he was saying he's coming back and reincarnating on the physical plane. And I continued to listen, and then I had a memory. I had a memory of the week he died. I was with him at his retirement home where he passed away. He had gone into a coma, and I had been at his bedside the week that he died. And so when he told me he was coming back, I had a flashback of that, and I kind of became sad, kind of became, you know, very serious. And I knew that I had to ask now, you know, all those questions I had about that time that I wanted answers from. And so I asked him, how did he experience that week? How was that for him? And so he starts to explain to me very quickly how he felt throughout his weekend, so quickly that I don't even remember I retained any of the information. I didn't write the information down in my notes. And so what he wanted to focus on was me during that week. And he tells me, you know, I remember you were crying a lot. You were very emotional. You were irritated. I don't remember this, but he says this. And then he says, I remember you swore a lot. I'm not the type of person to swear a lot, but maybe under stress, I might let out a couple of swear words here and there. But he remembers this. My grandfather did not like people swearing, so he would have focused in on these things, even if I didn't even remember or notice myself. And so he tells me this. And I listened to him because I want to know everything that was going on from his side, from his point of view, when he was dying, because he was in a coma. And so it seems to me he was telling me that he was aware of everything. So was he out of body already or just inside his body and able to hear? I don't know. But he knew everything that was going on while he was dying and in the coma leading up to his death. And so he tells me this. You were emotional. You were sad, crying. He remembers everything, all the things I was going through. And then he says, you know, all these things are recorded up there. And I had heard of Akashic records back then, but I didn't know much about them, and I didn't really care about that stuff. So when he mentioned that, I just absorbed the information he was telling me, like new information, right? And he says, you know, all these things are recorded up there. That I knew. But then he says, you know, it's not just facts. It's not just like visuals, photos, images, and maybe the things you said. It's not like reading a book. It's like even your thoughts are recorded and saved in the archives. And even your emotions are there. So when he was explaining to me, everything you feel, do, think, say, smell, whatever the senses, the emotions, the feelings out of any situation, all of that is recorded. So I guess he even accessed this because he was telling me all of this is in the Akashic records. Everything I felt that week is all there. So if ever, you know, someone wants to go feel how I felt, go live that experience, that they can just go there and just all of it is there for them to get the information from that experience. And so that was the first time I got information from the Akashic records. And so he was explaining this to me, and I was very intrigued by what he was saying. And then the door to my bedroom opened, and in came my daughter, mommy. And I don't remember what she wanted. She was not a kid, mommy, but she was waiting for something. She wanted something. She just burst into my room and woke me up from this nice dream, this nice conversation I was having for the first time with my grandpa. Oh my God, so these things can happen. They did happen that time. I used to always tell her, I'm going to meditate, I'm going to lay down, blah, blah, blah. I didn't know if this was in the afternoon. This was not during the night. That's one of those things that can happen if you're trying to astral project during the afternoon and some people are at your home, like your kids or your spouse or whatever. And so this was in the afternoon. My daughter knew I was meditating because I always told her, but I guess she needed something. She needed me. She knocked on my door and she woke me up from that dream / astral projection. And I cried so bad. It was like he just died again. Like I was finally with him and I lost him. I was so sad, so frustrated that she woke me up. And so that was the experience of me meeting up with my grandfather for, it wasn't the first time, but it was one of the first times in the astral dimension. And I hope you enjoyed my story again. And please know that it's possible for you too if you're looking to meet with deceased loved ones. And that's it. That's it for now. I'll see you in the next one.